Hey, welcome to Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. You guys like my light? I got a new light, so I thought it would add a little ambiance. Looks nice. We're on chapter 22. We were just with Jane and Elizabeth. Jane got an unfortunate letter from Mr. Bingley, or from Mr. Bingley's sister, actually, saying that Mr. Bingley will not be returning as they thought, and they will be joining him. Also, Mr. Bingley has probably fallen for another woman in London, according to the sister in the letter. So Jane's kind of like, my God, I thought we were in love, blah, blah, blah. We'll see what happens. I have no idea. Oh, and Mr. Collins, he asked for Elizabeth's hand in marriage, and that was so cringe. It was so cringe. So, ugh. Anyways, and yeah, some zombies. Some zombies. Anyways, chapter 22. The Bennets were engaged to dine with the Lucases, and again, during the chief of the day, was Miss Lucas so kind as to listen to Mr. Collins. Elizabeth took an opportunity of thanking her. "It keeps him in good humour," said she, "and I am obliged to you more than I can express." This was very amiable, but Charlotte's kindness extended farther than Elizabeth had any conception of. Its object was nothing else than to secure her from any return of Mr. Collins's proposal by engaging them towards herself. Oh. Such was Miss Lucas's scheme, and appearances were so favorable that when they parted at night, she would have felt almost secure of success if he had not been to leave Hertfordshire so very soon. But here she did injustice to the fire and independence of his character, for it led him to escape out of Longbourn House the next morning with admirable slyness, and hasten to Lucas Lodge to throw himself at her feet. He was so anxious to avoid the notice of his cousins, from a conviction that if they saw him depart they could not fail to conjecture his design, and he was not willing to have the attempt known till its success might it be known likewise, for the feeling almost secure, and with reason, for Charlotte had been tolerably encouraging, he was comparatively diffident since the adventure of Elizabeth's rejection. Yeah, I can understand that. Man's got his he's got his doubts. He's apprehensive. I guess he's got to sneak out, make sure that nobody sees him make a fool of himself, just in case. But Miss Lucas perceived him from an upper window as he walked towards the house. "Juliet, Juliet, where art thou?" and instantly set out to meet him accidentally in the lane. But little had she dared to hope that so much love and eloquence awaited her there. In as short a time as Mr. Collins's long speech would allow, everything was settled between them to the satisfaction of both, and as they entered the house he earnestly entreated her to name the day that was to make him the happiest of men. Aww. Well, that's cute. Okay. Sir William and Lady Lucas were speedily applied for their consent, and it was bestowed with a most joyful again, this word, I should look it up. I'll look it up next time. I'll know it. But it's alacrity. I don't know what it means. But oomph, I'm guessing? I don't know. Mr. Collins' present circumstances made it a most eligible match for their daughter, to whom they could give little fortune, and his prospects of future wealth were exceedingly fair. Lady Lucas began directly to calculate with more interest than the matter had ever excited her before, how many years longer Mr. Bennet was likely to live, and Sir William gave it as his decided opinion that whenever Mr. Collins should be in possession of the Longbourn estate, it would be highly expedient that both he and his wife should take up the residence and dispense of the unsightly dojo post haste. Aw, man. Alright, well. The whole family, in short, were properly overjoyed on the occasion. The least agreeable circumstance in the business was the surprise it must occasion to Elizabeth Bennet, whose friendship Charlotte valued beyond that of any other person. Would she disapprove, or worse, would she have no desire of further acquaintance? I mean, I'm sure she's going to be more upset about the dojo than Mr. Collins. Charlotte resolved to give her the information herself, and therefore charged Mr. Collins, when he returned to Longbourn to dinner, to drop no hint of what had passed before any of the family. A promise of secrecy was, of course, very dutifully given, but it could not be kept without difficulty, for the curiosity excited by his long absence burst forth in such very direct questions on his return, and required some ingenuity to evade. As he was beginning his journey too early on the morrow to see any of the family, the ceremony of leave-taking was performed when the ladies moved for the night, and Mrs. Bennet, with great politeness and cordiality, said how happy they should be to see him at Longbourn again whenever his engagements might allow him to visit. "My dear madame," he replied, "this invitation is particularly gratifying, because it is what I have been hoping to receive, and as you may be very certain that I shall avail myself of it as soon as possible." They were all astonished, and Mr. Bennet, who could by no means wish for so speedy a return, immediately said, "But there is not danger of Lady Catherine's disapprobation here, my good sir. You had better neglect your relations than ruin the risk of offending your patroness." "My dear sir," replied Mr. Collins, "I am particularly obliged to you for this friendly caution, and you may depend upon my not taking so material a step without her lady's concurrence." "You cannot be too much upon your guard. Risk anything rather than her displeasure, and if you find it likely to be raised by your coming to us, which I should think exceedingly probable, be satisfied that we shall take no offense. Believe me, my dear sir, my gratitude." "Who, me? Oh, I love you. Oh, me. Oh, fuck. This is just annoying to me. "Believe me, my dear sir, my gratitude is warmly excited by such affectionate affirmation, and depend upon it, you will speedily receive me from a letter of thanks for this, and for every other mark of your regard during my stay in Hertfordshire. As for my fair cousins, I shall now take the liberty of wishing them health and happiness, not excepting my cousin Elizabeth." It was weird that he wanted to marry his cousin, too. Like, I mean, maybe married in, but, like... Can you be married in? Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Ugh, it's weird. Elizabeth had been expecting such a slight and determined to show not the least offense at it, lest he gain some measure of victory over her. She instead smiled and said, "And I, Mr. Collins, wish you the safest of journeys, for there have been such an uncommon number of dreadfuls on the road of late that an encounter seems unavoidable. I am certain, however, that yours will be the exception." He's like, oh, fuck. With proper civilities, the ladies then withdrew, all of them equally surprised that he meditated a quick return. Mrs. Bennet wished to understand by it that he thought of paying his addresses to one of her younger girls, and Mary might have been prevailed on to accept him. But on the following morning, every hope of this kind was dawn away. Miss Lucas called soon after breakfast, and in private conference with Elizabeth, related the event of the day before. The possibility of Mr. Collins fancying himself in love with her friend had once occurred to Elizabeth within the last day or two, but that Charlotte could engage him seemed almost as far from possibility as she could encourage him herself. "Engaged to Mr. Collins, my dear Charlotte, impossible!" Miss Lucas calmly replied. "Why should you be so surprised, my dear Eliza? Do you think it incredible that Mr. Collins should be able to procure any woman's good opinion, because you thought him ill-suited to be the husband of so great a woman as yourself?" Ooh. Such an affront would have been met with fists had it come from any person, but in this case Elizabeth's affection were greater even than her honor. Seeing no hope of persuading her otherwise, she wished Charlotte all imaginable happiness. "That's nice. There you are." "I see what you are feeling," replied Charlotte. "You must be surprised, very much surprised, so lately as Mr. Collins was wishing to marry you. But when you have had time to think it over, I hope you will be satisfied with what I have done. I am not romantic, you know. I never was. I am only a comfortable home, and considering Mr. Collins's character, connection, and situation in life, I am convinced that my chance of happiness with him is as fair as most people can boast on entering the marriage state, especially since... Oh, Elizabeth, I beg you will not be angry with me, or cut me down where I stand, but Elizabeth, I can have no secrets from you. I have been stricken. Oh, my heart, my bleeding heart." Sorry. Elizabeth gasped. Her close friend, stricken by the plague, condemned to serve Satan. What? Oh, what? Oh, I thought, like, she was in love. Her instincts demanded she back away. She listened as Charlotte recounted the unhappy event which occurred during her Wednesday walk to Longbourn. I was wondering if any of the main characters were gonna die off. That's funny. Oh, her instincts demanded she back away. She listened as Charlotte recounted the unhappy event which occurred during her Wednesday walk to Longbourn. Daring to make the trip alone and unarmed, she had hastened upon the road undisturbed until she happened upon an overturned chaise at 4. Seeing no one mentioned about, Charlotte approached and knelt, readying her eyes to meet the gruesome visage of a crushed coachman. To her horror, she was instead met by the grasp of a zombie who had been trapped beneath the carriage. Her leg caught in its bony fingers. She screamed as the creature's teeth broke her skin. She was able to free herself and continued to longboard, but hell's dark business had been carried out. I don't have long, Elizabeth. All I ask is that my final months be happy ones, and that I be permitted to a husband who will see to my proper Christian beheading and burial. Oh my goodness. Okay, so now we are on to chapter 23, page 100. I think I'm actually going to leave it there. Make a little bit of a few shorter episodes today. We'll see how that goes. Okay. Because reading a lot actually does take a lot out. And I find, I can get better as I go along. So maybe throughout the day my recordings will be better. But anyways, wow, drama. Are you scared? So let's see what happens next time. All right, bye.